Pleasure to be here. It's just sitting there thinking how wonderful it is, and thinking of what my grandparents might have thought if they saw this. It's so different, because this is where the outhouse used to be. And to give you a little bit of a description of what it was like when I was Deegan's age. And I can recall some of the things from that time. One of the things in particular was I could, if you imagine this place with, there's no houses around it. There was a field south of here, and then there was a big orchard. We grew apples there, and then it was pasture down there, and the creek ran through the area. It was a lovely creek with all kinds of things in it, like stickleback and great crayfish, and there was a pond that my father had dammed it up, and there was ducks and various things that would come in and land. And I learned to call ducks very well there. Anyway, but when I was his age, I could hear these hammers, and this hammering and saws, but hand saws. It was Ajax being built, 1942. Ajax, the war had just begun, and a couple of my cousins had come to stay with us from England because their father was teaching people to fly out of Oshawa, and so at night there was these bombers that would fly over, and of course at Deegan's age you don't know what's really going on. You hear all your parents talking about the war, but you hear these bombers going over, and you think, are they going to drop bombs on us? And we live in fear sometimes of that. It's quite different. It was called Woodlawn because it had a lot of huge spruce trees on the front, very tall spruce trees. They all got taken out in 1953 when Hurricane Hazel came through, and we didn't have power for 2 weeks, and we had to milk the cows by hand. The barn was just down here a little bit, and it was a big barn, a really great barn. Actually, we tore it down back in the 80s, and Aaron helped tear it down and move some of the logs up to, but it was 90 feet long and 50 feet wide, and there was all kinds of animals, of course. But my mother, I remember taking taking me on my first walk down along the creek, and there were these huge old stumps that had been trees that had been taken down by my great-great-grandfather, and they were this big around, those stumps, and they made fences out of them, all these stump fences. They were as high as this. It was just amazing. This farm has been occupied by basically the same family since 1830. My great-grandfather came here, and he cleared the land. Sometimes I wish he'd come back and do it again. When I say cleared the land, that's with an axe, cutting those trees down, those trees that were this big around. And it's hard to imagine, isn't it, today when you have chainsaws. And then he built a log house, and the log house was not too far from here. Just a little log house, because log houses, that was the way it was only like 20 feet square. And but by the 1840s, he saved enough money, and he hired some Scottish stonemasons and helped them build a stone house. And there was a wooden back shed on it, which was their kitchen. But it was pretty dilapidated when I was Geordie's age, because I remember coming out and there was a wood stove, but the back kitchen had sagged a little bit, and there was a gap. You could see the sky in there, and in the wintertime you'd get snow drifting down on the hot stove. So it was it was a bit of fun. And the school we went to was over here at the corner of Harwood and Highway 2, just a little one-room school. And of course Westney Road was a gravel road, and it went straight down to Highway 2, and so we'd walk that way to school and over the hill. And if the weather was right, we could walk back through the fields, and there was a lovely old path that with a fence row, and there's all kinds of birds and things. There was the loggerhead shrike that hung out there. Now they're almost extinct. So much has changed. But this is what this area was like. It was really farmland. And we had a border collie, and in the morning, everybody got up at 5:45 in the morning because we had to do the chores before you went to school. And you have a cup of tea and then go out and feed the calves and milk the cows and then come in by about 7:30, have breakfast and walk to school. And then you got back from school when they let us out around 4 o'clock, and we'd walk home, and then you do the chores again. And by 6 or 7 at night, you were through. You went and had supper. We didn't have dinner. We had supper, and then did your homework and went to bed. That was the kind of routine, you know. There's lots of little stories here, but I remember one in particular when I was Deegan's age. I'd come out of the back kitchen and it was nice and warm in the afternoons, and we had a rooster, and the rooster would attack me, and I had to run back in the house. We finally had the rooster for Sunday dinner. So, anyway, that's just a little bit of the imagery of what it was like here, and far different than today. And I get very kind of emotional about it when I see Deegan running around here. That lovely maple there, when I was a kid, was about that big around. And there was another big maple there, and you see where the umbrella is. That was where the well was, and there was a hand pump on it. And the kids from Ajax would ride up here, and they'd get on their bicycles when they were going to the park that was up in Greenwood for swimming, and they'd stop here and come in, and there was always a cup hanging on the well, and you'd pump the water out and swash it out and have a drink of fresh, cold water out of the well. It was beautiful water. Well, I guess you can't stand in the way of progress. It's all changed. Anyway, lovely to see all you people out here enjoying this thing. And Jordy, I think your grandparents would be proud of the way you're using the place. Lovely. What do you say, Deke? Can you say something?
I don't think that's good.
Don't feel pressured, Deegan. Don't feel pressured at all. Say,
hey, Deegan.
Hey, Deegan.
Deegan! Deegan!
Woo!